Hi everyone, I know I'm not the usual face you see when you start these videos, but Holly asked me to film a little video, so she will not be in this one with me because this is something that she doesn't have a lot of personal experience in. So as a lot of you may know or may not know or may have guessed by watching the other videos, I am gay. This is something that I've known for a really long time and recently come out to the whole world. So she asked me to film a little video about what it is like to be gay in Civil Air Patrol. So I want to start by saying, obviously, as a lot of you know, Civil Air Patrol is obviously military based, so it kind of attracts a certain kind of person. And that is typically people on the more conservative side and more religious. There's a lot of like homeschoolers and Christians and people who are just more reserved and Christian and conservative and in those respects. So that's a little bit interesting. So obviously most people in Civil Air Patrol, the average person, probably does not approve or condone of homosexuality. So that kind of started off, and that was like the first thing that made it difficult in Civil Air Patrol. So my story, I have been out for the past year. It was almost exactly last summer, the summer of 2017, that I came out. It was the end of July that I openly came out. I would like to leave a little disclaimer. As most of you guessed in the other comments or have just noticed about my personality, is most people pretty quickly are able to see that I am gay. I kind of fit a lot of the stereotypes. I've done musical theater, I've done dance, I can do makeup, like, I fit a lot of stereotypes, and I guess I can act a little bit more flamboyant and loud, so a lot of people guessed. I definitely denied it for a very long time, and people would ask me, I say, no, I'm not gay. So a lot of people just kind of always had the suspicion, and a lot of people were very sure that I was confused and just hadn't come to terms with it yet, which later came out to be true. So that's just a little disclaimer. So I definitely think I overall had an easier experience coming out than a lot of other people might or could have, just because when I came out, no one was overly shocked. A lot of people were just like, oh yeah, we knew or we suspected. So that's why I think I definitely had an easier coming out experience in Civil Air Patrol than a lot of people could have. Because I do personally know a lot of people in this program who are not openly gay. At least in Civil Air Patrol, they may be in their daily lives, but I know a lot of people who don't want to admit it in Civil Air Patrol because they're worried about rejection or people thinking differently of them or people not respecting them, especially if they are in higher level positions, which I completely understand, and that's a completely valid point. And I may possibly have also had those fears if people had not pretty much already suspected me and just kind of grown accustomed to it, because most people just assumed I was or thought I was. So I definitely think it was easier. So this is not a video to scare anyone from coming out in Civil Air Patrol or being openly gay in Civil Air Patrol. And it's not meant to be something to necessarily say you have to or you should, because it's completely different for everyone, and obviously I know coming out can be a very difficult experience for everyone in general. So I'm just going to kind of go through like a little timeline. So since I've been in this program for 6 years, and I only came out last year, so for the first 5 years of Civil Air Patrol, obviously I was figuring out my sexuality, and I had not really, obviously not confirmed that I was gay until not actually that long before I came out. But obviously those feelings were always there. So before coming out, I always did, it was always in the back of my mind, especially when I was at activities, and adrenaline's pumping, and it's high activities, and it just kind of is always there, especially when you're about people, and I'd had conversations with people, and it's just come up, and I never personally engaged in conversations about it, but I definitely had overheard a lot of people, and I knew what a lot of people thought about it, so it was always a little bit nerve-wracking, like, what if someone finds out, what if I say something, or I do something, that kind of gives it away. It was always a little bit stressful, and that way just because I did know a lot of people wouldn't necessarily approve of it or be super open about it. So that was just kind of something that was always in the back of my mind. And then also, Civil Air Patrol, like, there are a few decently attractive people in this program, so I kind of had to deal with those kinds of feelings while at activities, and that was kind of always awkward and strange. And plug your ears if you don't want to hear this, but you are on a lot of military bases. That does mean there are a lot of communal showers, and that was always something very stressful for me. Because of obvious reasons. I don't want to go into too much gory detail, but stuff like that, which has kind of always made it awkward, and you're changing in a lot of the same places, and you're just kind of in very close quarters a lot of the time, with a bunch of other guys the whole time. So that was always just something that I always had to think about so much. And obviously, like, making sure that I don't give off any weird vibes or make anyone feel uncomfortable, or look at anyone wrong. It was just something that I always had to be very, very aware of. Just because I never wanted anything to slip out, because I was always scared that, like, if someone were to find out that I wouldn't be as accepted in the group and I wouldn't be part of all the banter in the barracks, and just kind of be part of those little fun conversations that you'd have late at night, and things like that, because I would just make people feel uncomfortable. So that's pretty much how it was, and my mind definitely was changed very quickly, and that's one of the big things that made me want to come out, because pretty much all of the first people that I ever came out to were people in Civil Air Patrol. The first person I ever came out to was last March, so March of 2017 was the first person I ever openly admitted that I was gay. And they were in Civil Air Patrol, so that was kind of the first big stepping stone, and it kind of went on from there. So a lot of the main reasons why I came out were from Civil Air Patrol. That next encampment, I came out to another person, and again, it was just so well received and accepted. I was like, oh wow, thank you. And then, as you may know, in one of the other videos, when I was hanging out with close friends and I was hanging out with Holly, I came out to them. So they were the next people that I came out to. And also Cat people, and all very accepting and all very kind, and super fine with it. And no one ever gave me grief at that point. And then actually another really big thing that got me to come out was Cadet Officer School. So when I went to COS, this was last July, so July of 2017. So this was kind of a point in my life where I was finally fully okay and accepted the fact that I was gay. So at this activity, I had made a lot of really good friends, and so I decided when the first person asked me if I was gay, I said yes. So that was the first official Civil Air Patrol activity where I was openly gay the entire time. Anytime anyone asked me, I never denied it. And definitely a part of that was because a lot of those people I knew I may never see again. We don't know a lot of the same people, so even if they know I'm gay, and I definitely don't have to have a bunch of worries and conversations about people going out and telling people that are in my day-to-day life. So that was the first Civil Air Patrol activity that I was fully and openly gay. And I was definitely very well received. A lot of people, obviously, again, as I said, people just kind of always assumed. So it really wasn't a very difficult transition, and a lot of people were super okay with it, had super chill, open conversations the whole time. There definitely were some people that I could tell it did make them a little uncomfortable. Because once again, this is a program that attracts conservative, sheltered, not as open people. So there were some people that didn't necessarily give me grief, but just kind of were a little bit standoffish at first, and it took them a little bit more time to warm up to me and to warm up to that idea, just because maybe they've never met someone gay in their life, or they don't believe that it's okay, or they believe it's a sin, or anything like that. So there were some people that it took a little bit longer for them to get used to the idea. So it definitely it had its struggles and a little parts. Some people definitely they just kind of held back in ways. But overall, like, I was never bullied or hazed or put down because of it in Civil Air Patrol. Um, so that after COS, I think it was a week or two later, I made an Instagram post, and from that point on, I was fully and openly gay in every part of my life. I told my family. Everyone knew. Everyone who knew me knew at that point. Um, and so obviously at that point, everyone in Civil Air Patrol knew. So I got a lot of comments from people in CAP commenting on my Instagram post like, "Congratulations! I'm glad you're finally opening up about this." And a lot of people talked to me about it, and they were really not kind and accepting. And obviously that wasn't everyone's position. Um, but once again, like I said, I was never openly put down or bullied or argued with because of that openly in Civil Air Patrol. I definitely, unfortunately, some things did make its way back to me. And there were times that I did hear, "Oh, so and so did kind of talk crap about you, or said some hurtful things when they found out you were gay, or they heard about something." So there definitely were some times that it did find its way back to me, which did hurt, and it's always uncomfortable, but I kind of expected that and knew that that was inevitable, especially in a atmosphere like Civil Air Patrol. But once again, I was never openly put down um, or jaded because of it. So it definitely was not as rough of an experience in Civil Air Patrol as I thought it would be. Um, but once again, like I said, that's not how everyone experiences. And like I said earlier, I do know a lot of people in this program who have never come out in Civil Air Patrol. They may be out in their normal lives, or once they leave Civil Air Patrol, they are openly gay, but a lot of people choose to hide it because of that fear of loss of respect. Um, and that definitely was interesting going back to CAP activities afterwards. So obviously this last year I was not as active in Civil Air Patrol anymore, so I definitely didn't go to as many activities, but I staffed a Texas Leadership School. I went to an out-of-wing encampment. I did National Conference, Wing Conference, and a couple other little things, and obviously still remained active in my squadron. So there were some interesting instances throughout, and I ended up through the program. I did date someone, and that was a bit rough because once again, this person was not out, and it did make it hard because they were not out in their normal lives or in Civil Air Patrol. So seeing each other at activities kind of made it difficult. Because obviously you just kind of want to run up and kiss them and hug them and talk to them and just be completely open, but you can't. And obviously even normal couples really can't, but I definitely knew in the back of my mind that even if they were openly gay, I definitely knew we would not be able to be that open of a couple in Civil Air Patrol just because it wouldn't be received well, and a lot of people would have issues with it. And obviously, because I came out on Instagram and it just kind of told people, a lot of senior members still didn't know, and I still to this day, I was never really confirmed for me which senior members did, which senior members did not. Because obviously it's different with adults. They don't hear all the same things. They don't see things. None of them follow me on Instagram or anything like that. So I definitely knew that even if he was openly gay, we wouldn't be able to be open about it in Civil Air Patrol just because it wouldn't be well received, and it could definitely cause problems for us. So that was always a fear. And unfortunately that did not last long, and it did end just because it was so hard to be together all the time but never be together. And never just be able to let down all the walls and let down all the barriers. Which left barriers and walls up in the relationship itself, because our main interaction was through Civil Air Patrol. So that was definitely a very hard thing for us, and that's kind of one of the reasons why it did end. So overall, it's been definitely a positive experience, and Civil Air Patrol has definitely been something that has helped me through this journey and this experience. But it has also been something that has been complicated. And it's been something complicated to deal with because obviously there are certain things that I don't talk about and certain things, parts of my personality, and things that I will tone down in Silver Air Patrol, because if you don't know me or have never seen anything, I can be a very loud, obnoxious, just a kind of stereotypically gay in very many ways. So in Silver Air Patrol, I obviously did tone a lot of that down, and I kind of had to watch a lot of my words, what I said, how I acted, and that just definitely did make it difficult. Even after coming out, I still kind of had to keep it at bay because I did know of people who were not okay with it and made them uncomfortable. And I even had conversations with people who were like, I do not agree with what you're doing. They never put me down for it or hurt my feelings for it, but there definitely were a lot of people that I've had conversations with, and they were like, I do not agree with homosexuality. I do believe it is wrong, and I'm not okay with it. So people like that do exist very often in this program, and so that did require me to kind of stay more reserved, and kind of hold a lot of things back and really only open up around people that I felt more comfortable with and people who I knew were okay with it. So that definitely has been a struggle, but no senior member, no position that I know of has ever been denied to me because of that reason. And kind of going into that, there obviously are still a lot of unknowns for me personally, with coming out in Silver Patrol. Like I said, I didn't know who really knew, because obviously a lot of people in Silver Patrol didn't necessarily follow me on Instagram, didn't necessarily talk to other people. So I still to this day don't really know who does know, who doesn't know, which senior members know, which senior members don't, who my squadron knows, who my squadron doesn't know. So I definitely think there are ways that it could have affected me that I may not even realize. Like I said, I do not personally know if anything has ever been denied or taken away from me because of that reason. I have been denied things, and I have had things taken away from me in this program, even in a lot in the last year. So I obviously can't say for certain, was it because I was gay? Was it because I had come out or people had suspected? So there are still a lot of unknowns, and I obviously haven't had conversations with every single person being like, are you okay with it? Are you okay with it? So there's still a lot of unknowns in this program, and I definitely think I could have had a very different experience if I had come out at a different time. Like I said, this last year was kind of like I was phasing out of the program throughout this last year. I definitely went to a lot less activities. I went to a lot of less wing activities, and with a lot less people that I had known beforehand. Because, like I said, after coming out, the only activities I did were National Conference, which was in my wing, but still, I didn't see a lot of people that I saw at normal activities and didn't have super long conversations with them or anything like that. And there was a lot of people there who didn't know me and who may not have known that I was gay or just didn't know me beforehand. And then I staffed one cadet leadership activity, which was different because I was also on crutches for that activity. So people were kind of a lot more focused on that, and that was its own struggle, the whole activity, and that's kind of what I was focusing on the whole activity. So again, that could have been very different at a different time and a different experience. And then I went to an out-of-wing activity where the only other person I knew was Holly. And then I went to wing conference, and that there were kind of other things that I was thinking about and other things I was focusing about and other drama that was going on at the time. So I definitely think I could have had a very different experience and exposure if I had come out at a different time, or if I had had a different personality or anything like that. So there's still a lot of unknowns, so I definitely don't want anyone to think that, oh, coming out in CAP is super scary or it's super easy and you're totally going to be accepted right away. I'm very thankful that I had such a good experience in this program, but I definitely know a lot of people who may not. And it is something that's kind of sad, but it's just the nature of it. And it also could be different because I live in Texas, which is already a very inherently conservative, less accepting state in that way. So it could depend on where you live, and things like that, and your personality and just the people around you. So I'm very blessed to have had a pretty good experience coming out in Civil Air Patrol, and I've never had any real issues that I know of that were caused by it. But it definitely did have its rough spots, and there were some instances and experience that I kind of had to overcome quickly, just because being gay in Civil Air Patrol is not always the easiest thing. Just like, for a very long time, being gay in the military was not a very difficult thing. But I definitely would like to say I know on a national and organizational level, Civil Air Patrol is really pushing forward and trying to move forward in making sure that discrimination and bullying and things like that are really brought down in Civil Air Patrol. There will be links below to the disability and discrimination pamphlets to Civil Air Patrol. So if you want to know more about that and more about what Civil Air Patrol is doing to help minimize the cases where people are put down for things like sexuality or race or gender or anything like that, you could go look at that below. But Civil Air Patrol definitely is really moving in the right direction. And is really helping making it a more accepting and open place. I went to National Conference last year and I listened to a very good discussion about how to handle LGBTQ cadets in Civil Air Patrol. And a lot of senior members were there. There was national staff there giving the class, and there were definitely a lot of really good conversations happening. And so a lot of people still don't necessarily know how to handle all the situations, but they definitely are doing research and working in the right direction. So I definitely think this will become a much more accepting and open program as time moves on, just as society grows and as the military itself grows in that aspect. So who knows, maybe in 10 years it'll be a very different atmosphere and everyone will be openly gay. But as for right now, it is what it is. I had a good experience. I've known people who've had less of a good experience or were just too afraid to do it because of the fear of having rejection and things like that. Just because of the nature of the atmosphere and attitude in Civil Air Patrol. But if you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave something in the comments. DM me on Instagram. That'll be linked below. I would be happy to answer anyone's questions. I'm always super open to helping people. If you are openly gay in CAP or think you want to be but are concerned about something, feel free to totally message me and ask me. I would be happy to help in any way that I can. But I definitely think it is a case by case. So you look at the people in your life, talk to someone in your life. If you are struggling with sexuality, have a conversation with someone. I kept it bottled in for a very long time, and it was very difficult for me. But because of the people that I talked to and the conversation that I had with people, it did help me a lot. So I would be happy to be that person for anyone, but find someone in your life that you can talk to and be open about. But again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to leave them down below, DM me on Instagram, whatever. I'd be happy to talk to you and help in any way possible. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe. This is an amazing channel. I'm imagining the links will be down below for some of the other videos that I've been in on her channel. And I want to say thank you to Holly for letting me film this video.